People should not cover for those who they have identified unscrupulous, undesirable people.
National Security Council promises imminent end to insecurity.
This law is a law that favors the host community.
Oil communities commend presidency over Petroleum Industry Act.
We have had various sums of monies released. We mobilized the contractors aside. People from the Mbiama area, Kayama and others are quite excited.
Minister affirms mandate on peace and infrastructural development in Niger Delta. Plus, INEC publishes list of substituted candidates for Anambra governorship election. Welcome to NTA Network News. We're live in Abuja. I'm Ian Ray John. Michael Olaleye joins me from Lagos. Thank you for joining us. A crucial meeting of the National Security Council has ended with a strong conviction by the presidency that normalcy will be fully restored in all troubled spots across the nation before the expiration of President Muhammadu Buhari's tenure. The National Security Advisor, Babagana Mogunu, who briefed newsmen after the meeting, said the president was unequivocal in his submission to the council members that he is not prepared to hand over a security-challenged Nigeria to his successor. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the details.
The high-level engagement was summoned by President Muhammadu Buhari to critically analyze the reported mass surrender of terrorists in the Northeast Theater of Operations and its implications to the nation's body politic.
Large numbers of people are surrendering in the Northeast as a consequence of the relentless efforts of the armed forces, intelligence and security agencies. This is very, very evident. We've never had such large numbers of people defecting from the other side back to the Nigerian side. The president is quite happy that there's been tremendous success, especially with the advent of the new service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, and he's also made it very, very clear that he's not ready to exit government as a failure. He's not going to tolerate that. He's made changes and is ready to make further changes if he's not satisfied.
The meeting, attended by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, several relevant ministers, service chiefs, and heads of other security services, also discussed plans for the surrendering terrorists. The participants also noted a significant drop in the cases of kidnapping and banditry in parts of the country. Far-reaching measures that cannot be made public were adopted towards achieving lasting solutions.
In the context of the 21st century, you can't deal with these emerging crises in a cut-and-dried manner. We have to use everything at our disposal, all the elements of national power, including the population. The wider community needs to work with the security agencies to deal with these problems. People should not cover for those who they have identified as unscrupulous, undesirable people.
We have been encouraged to do more from what we've been doing. And we also assure Mr. President that we will put more efforts, more sacrifice to ensure that we are above and ahead of crime and criminality.
During the discussions, which lasted about 5 hours, key participants made submissions on various strategic and operational issues. President Buhari used the opportunity to express worry over the reported widespread hunger in the land.
The president is not oblivious to the pains of the people, and is working with the vice president and other members of council. Is going to employ the relevant ministries, departments and agencies of government to address this issue. As far as it's concerned, it's also an emergency situation. The people should not be left to wallow in hunger and in despair.
The National Security Council meeting also touched on the recent killing of travelers in Jos Plateau State, with President Muhammadu Buhari expressing confidence in efforts by Governor Simon Lalong towards maintaining peace and security in the state. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has been formally briefed by renowned Islamic scholar and leader of the Tijaniya sect, Sheikh Dahiru Usman Bauchi, on the recent incident in Jos, Plateau State, where some of his followers lost their lives. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Sheikh Dahiru Usman Bauchi was accompanied to the State House by the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami. Dr. Pantami was incidentally the one delegated by President Muhammadu Buhari while in isolation to commiserate with the Islamic scholar over the loss suffered during the incident in Jos Plateau State. Sheikh Dahiru Usman Bauchi is here at the instance of the president to bring him up to speed on the unfortunate situation with a view to strategizing ways of avoiding a recurrence. Speaking to NTA News after the meeting that lasted about 30 minutes, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, described the strategic engagement as fruitful and reassuring.
The major highlights of the discussion: firstly, Mr. President condoled the Sheikh and he assured him that he has directed relevant institutions to investigate and do justice. He appreciated the Sheikh for the way he promotes peace, and at the same time he urged his followers to always be law-abiding. The Sheikh also presented some solutions to Mr. President for consideration, firstly on what happened, and secondly something that will bring everlasting peace in the country, which is what we have been yearning to ensure, that there is peace everywhere. So, and at the end, Sheikh prayed for Nigeria and also prayed for the peaceful coexistence of Nigeria, and also prayed for Mr. President to be successful in his leadership.
The minister confirmed that the president assured the Islamic scholar that the government will study the recommendations he presented for necessary action. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Away from the State House now, the authorities are promising tougher times for air passengers intending to travel with prohibited items on the no-flight list at any of the nation's airports, following the approval of more funding for sniffer dogs by the Federal Executive Council. Aviation correspondent Emmanuel Ayimiro visited the military working dogs kennel wing of the Abuja airport to witness firsthand the training of these dogs for increased security.
Vigilance and search operation of suspected vehicles begin at the K9 wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The search continues with the luggage of passengers before they are screened for COVID-19 or any other suspicious items. The approval of the procurement of security dogs is in line with the International Civil Aviation Authority for the safety and security of airports.
Now, these dogs, they would be doing, among other things, detection of bomb, detection of drugs, currency, prohibited items, explosives, etc., etc.
A visit to the military working dogs kennel provided an insight about the specialty of each dog on narcotic, explosives, patrol, and special operations. Security dogs are known for providing health and well-being benefits to their owners through the raising of alarm or alert when a suspected item is found within their domain. Such is what you are seeing being demonstrated by patrol dogs at the K9 unit of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja.
Our dogs are periodically checked before they even go out for any operation. They work like the way we work, from 08 to 1600 hours.
All these bandits, all these kidnappers, most of them are drug-addicted youths. And this is an issue that the government, I think, is doing the right thing, not only for the airport. The sniffer dog should also be imported for our borders. It's kudos to Mr. President. We must thank him, and we must thank the Federal Executive Council.
So, what to expect with the additional funding is a faster response time to unlawful possession of prohibited items. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
Now, talking oil and gas, the signing of the Petroleum Industry Act has continued to generate positive reactions from industry players and other stakeholders. The latest is the host communities of oil and gas in Nigeria. Salihu Abdullahi Guanara reports.
Apology that the best president that we ever had in Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, in Nigeria.
Addressing journalists at the Unity Fountain in Abuja, the nation's capital, National Chairman of Host Communities of Nigeria, Chris Mike Emu, appealed to traditional, political, religious, and all relevant stakeholders across the oil-producing communities to embrace the Petroleum Industry Act as a necessary tool to positively impact on the citizens.
10 years we have been waiting and waiting. What we have been waiting for has been given to us. And so we are here to celebrate this PIA 3% for a starting point. The issue is that this law is the law that favors the host community. And so I want to appeal to all leaders of the Niger Delta to please share your sword. Let there be peace so that we can think of how to manage this fund.
The host communities said they will closely monitor and ensure strict adherence to the remittance of the 3% Petroleum Industry Act compensation to them. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Guanara, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva, has called for deliberate efforts from members of the PIA Implementation Steering Committee to implement the law in a manner that best achieves the objectives of enthronement of a vibrant, sustainable, efficient and investment-friendly petroleum industry. The minister said this is the only way to improve the country's revenue base, create jobs and support government's economic diversification agenda. Lydia Sampson reports.
Some of the terms guiding the steering committee, the implementation working group and coordinating secretariat inaugurated as approved by the president include effective and timely implementation of the law in the course of transition to the new petroleum industry envisaged in the reform program and ensuring that the new institutions created have the full capability to deliver on their mandate under the new legislation, among others.
Going forward, one of the immediate effects of the Act is that it will generate investors' interest in Nigeria, in the Nigeria oil and gas sector. And within the coming months and years, we expect to see a sizable increase in foreign direct investment.
In line with the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians whose lives will be impacted by the consequences of the steering committee decision and action, Sylvia reiterates the need for the committee to be committed and above board for quick realization of its mandate and to ensure that the steering committee is in the position to get quality briefs from implementation working group and coordinating secretariat. It has been organized into 4 work streams as follows: legal coordination and planning, communication and stakeholder management, administration and finance, all with distinct mandates and expected outcomes. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
The construction of durable infrastructure and the setting up of an enabling environment in the Niger Delta region have been the focus of the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, says the federal government has invested time and effort to ensure that peace and stability in the region are sustained, complemented by infrastructural development. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
At the 19th edition of the weekly executive briefing of the State House Press, Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, says key among the infrastructure projects that the federal government is working on in the region is the completion of the famous East-West Road, which traverses the Niger Delta region.
Historical debt we also inherited. We were able to clear about 11 billion in 2019. which we owe to contractors on the East-West Road. And this came from the magnanimity of Mr. President when on my application, he returned the East-West Road back to the Ministry of Niger Delta. And thereafter, we have had various sums of monies released. We mobilized the contractors aside. People from the Mbiama area, Kayama and others are quite excited with the amount of work going on.
Since 2006, when the road was initiated, successive administrations have promised its completion as a campaign slogan. But the minister says the present administration is committed to the completion of the project by 2022.
So we suggested that the NDDC should also come in and then budget the sum of 35 billion in 2020 budget and 2021 budget, specifically for those new infrastructure that we are putting on that East-West Road, because those ones were not even contemplated, both in 2006 and in 2014, and we are committed to doing that.
Apart from the East-West Road, about 109 intrastate road projects have been completed. So are other projects such as housing, education, skill acquisition centers, human capital development, healthcare centers, agro-processing centers, and cleaning up of the polluted environment.
But no amount of threat will make us to lose focus on the unity of this country.
It is not all sweet songs, as the ministry is equally facing challenges, majorly funding. For example, the minister disclosed that the international oil companies are owing the ministry $4 billion. The minister, who commends President Muhammadu Buhari for his support to the ministry and the Niger Delta Development Commission, says the Petroleum Industry Act would impact positively on the people of the region, and stresses that great achievement starts with a step in the right direction, and this, he says, the president has taken. He urges the Niger Delta community to utilize the current status appropriately. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NT News.
In other news, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the recommendations of a committee which he assigned to determine the level of encroachment in 368 grazing sites across 25 states in the country. The committee recommended the collection of field data collection on the grazing reserves to assess encroachment, stakeholder engagement and sensitization. It also recommended production of maps and geo-mapping and tagging of sites, analysis of findings and report preparations, as well as design appropriate communication on grazing reserves and operations. The number of the grazing reserves and states were deduced from considerations of existing security concerns and other pre-existing socio-economic conditions. The committee, which was chaired by the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, had as its members Governor of Kebbi State and Vice Chairman, National Food Security Council, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, Governor of Ebonyi State and Chairman of NEC Subcommittee for National Livestock Transformation Plan, David Umahi, Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Sabu Nanono, Minister of Environment, Dr. Muhammad Mahmoud Abubakar, and Deputy Chief of Staff, Ade Ikwae. While the technical subcommittee consists of representatives from the 7 members of the main committee, in addition to representatives from Ministry of Justice, Surveyor General of the Federation, National Agricultural Land Development Authority, and National Space Research Development Agency. Time for a first break, please. Thank you for staying. Let's now talk politics. President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, said the best legacy the ruling APC will keep for Nigerians beyond 2023 is the sustenance of its massive infrastructure and social programs. He was speaking when he granted audience to the APC Youth Lobby Committee led by the party's national youth leader, Ismail Ahmad. Ignatius Nkwo reports.
The All Progressives Congress has commenced consultations and lobby to stakeholders on ways and measures to strengthen the ruling party ahead of 2023. The youth wing of the party is strategic to this movement, and therefore a visit to President of the Senate becomes inevitable. The purpose of the meeting is to seek the support of the National Assembly in increasing the involvement of youth in the party and the establishment of a progressive institute.
The next task for this party is to make itself attractive to other young people so that the party itself can win elections without very popular candidates.
I believe that this country cannot make any sustainable progress without the youth of Nigeria getting the kind of empowerment through education, empowerment through creating opportunities, not necessarily government jobs, that will continue to produce all these massive infrastructures that no administration in Nigeria has ever invested so much in doing.
The group also submitted the communique reached at the APC Youth Progressives Conference. Senator Lawan also granted audience to a delegation from Ghana's Parliamentary Service Board, led by its chairman, Johnson Nketia, accompanied by the chairman, National Assembly Service Commission, Ahmed Kadi Amshi, who are in Nigeria on a study visit.
I always want to commend Nigeria for maintaining an environmentally healthy capital.
But this exchange of visits really help in making countries within our region, this sub-region, share so many valuable experiences.
The Ghanaian Parliament is restructuring its parliamentary service. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTN News.
Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress Legacy Awareness Campaign Group wants the synergy between the Army and the Air Force in the Northeast and Northwest in fighting Boko Haram to be sustained and replicated in other troubled zones across the country. A statement by the national coordinator of the APC Legacy Awareness Group, Salihu Mohammed Lukman, said the arrival of the Nigerian Navy's brand new landing ship tank and the Nigerian Air Force first batch of 6 Super Tucano aircraft demonstrates the passion of the Buhari's administration for a secure nation. The APC group believes there is so much to be optimistic about as the security agencies under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari intensifies efforts to secure every inch of the country and share the view that security challenges are best tackled by a combination of responses which should not be limited to kinetic military action alone. The group noted that the administration's focus on legislative reform, ease of doing business and mobilizing investment in agriculture, mining and infrastructure are all steps aimed at directly creating the right enabling environment for jobs, investment and prosperity for the populace and at indirectly curbing insecurity. Now, the Nigeria Police Trust Fund has taken delivery of security and health equipment as well as other operational vehicles procured for the force. Francis Form reports that the combat vehicles and medical equipment worth billions of naira is expected to enhance efficiency and effectiveness in crime detection, prevention and control.
The equipment, made up of 1,090 ballistic helmets and 640 bulletproof vests, as well as medicals and medical equipment worth over 7 billion naira for the Nigeria Police Force. Governors of Kebbi and Zamfara states were at the force headquarters on a different mission. Later joined their host, Usman Alkali Baba, and the Minister of Police Affairs to inspect the 200 operational combat vehicles.
Interestingly, all these items have been tested and found to be of good quality by the end users.
So we're very happy that what is here is good and acceptable to the end user.
The minister assures the force of government's commitment to equipping the police with modern technology to combat crime. Frank Sesfom, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Police Force and its Sierra Leone counterpart are both preparing their senior officers for modern-day policing strategies at the National Institute for Police Studies, Abuja. Francis Form, again, reports.
2 months hard work to be had on the criminals, with credentials added to a tasking career to remind them the assignment they are into, prominently on the implementation strategies in policing the contemporary society.
We assure you
that we are going back to the field as your worthy ambassadors, and we are not going to let you down.
And we expect you to go back to your various commands and divisions and to share some of this knowledge with your colleagues and other officers that you work with for the next.
Nigeria's #1 police chief represented and his counterpart from the Sierra Leone pleased with the performance of their men.
We are even expecting more officers from the West Africa sub-region, from Ghana, from Gambia, and from Liberia.
I will not leave there without congratulating you, Ghanaians, and charge you with the responsibility to go and make Nigeria and Sierra Leone a better, safer place.
51 personnel participated, 41 from the Nigeria police and 10 from the Sierra Leonean police.
And then it's now left with us to go and implement what we've been taught.
That we should try and build cohesion and trust amongst ourselves and extend it to the community at large.
Beyond the academic knowledge, a greater bond of friendship created among the top policemen beyond borders. Francis from NTA News.
Away from the police force now, the federal government has unveiled the new national guideline for the operations of the Federal Road Safety Corps Special Marshals in order to strengthen efforts of ensuring better road management in the country. Permanent Secretary, General Service, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Namdi Morris, revealed this at the 15th National Summit of the FRSC Special Marshals in Abuja. Oyeyemi Ajayi has details.
Federal Road Safety Corps Special Marshal is a voluntary arm of the FRSC, which supports in ensuring safety on the roads. Over the years, they have assisted in controlling, managing, creating awareness as well as arresting of road traffic offenders, hence bringing sanity to the Nigerian roads. This necessitated a new national guideline to define clearly their roles and responsibilities while on the roads.
Special Marshals membership must continue to remain apolitical and non-partisan in their engagements with the Corps. The spirit of volunteerism must remain the attraction for enlistment and quest for leadership.
If you want to be a special marshal, you must refrain from anything that will embarrass government, because legally special marshals are covered under the act that sets up the Corps, and the Corps is the paramilitary.
This 15th National Summit of the FRSC Special Marshal is to compare notes between delegates from parts of the country, rate their successes, as well as chart a better course forward as they elect new national executives to direct the affairs and ensure safer roads in the country. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Now time to have a feel of the Center of Excellence, where Michael will give us more reports. Michael, it's over to you.
Thank you, ARA. For Nigeria to translate its areas of investment opportunities into growth, there is need to embrace public relations as a tool for national development. At the 15th International Public Relations Conference held in Lagos, key players emphasized collaborative engagement rather than confrontation in the quest to achieve stipulated goals.
I'd like to emphasize that
since good reputation enhances national pride and patriotism, this forum wants practitioners to harness the power of public relations for national gains, which will in turn create wealth. But the worries here is that in the face of proliferation of digital communication, fake news seems to be a clog in the wheel of progress. Minister of Information and Culture, in his message to the Congress, challenged practitioners to devise the most strategic ways of communicating the gains above the losses.
It is pertinent to state that public relations is about building of trust and credibility. It is about sending the right messages to the right place.
The need for constant monitoring, engagement, and evaluation of citizens' expectations on strategic policies, key players say, are imperative in the overall goal of stimulating development.
As we strive to keep the citizens informed, we are constantly seeking better and more creative ways to ensure better communication between government and the people.
Public relations begins at home. You have to keep your home in order before
going to sort of announce what you are doing. This means that our stakeholder management has got to change for good.
With the theme, Maximizing the Power of Public Relations and Digital Communication for Organizational Success, the Congress is teaching public relations managers the tools to effective media management.
Maintaining standards and professional values in all areas of engagement should drive the needed strategic transformations and excellence in service delivery, both at the private and public sectors. President and Chairman of Council, Nigerian Institute of Management Chartered, Patient Anabu, said this while conferring awards of fellow and lifetime membership to some members in Lagos.
21 awards, fellows and spouses day luncheon of the Nigerian Institute of Management Chartered was an avenue to celebrate and honor those who have distinguished themselves in their fields of endeavor and contributed immensely to the growth of the Institute over the years. In his paper, A Prosperous Enterprise, A Secured Future, The Place of Institution Building, Emmanuel Ibe, Director, Department of Police Investigation, Police Service Commission, noted with emphasis the vital role of an entrepreneur in the development of an economy.
We cannot talk of a sustainable organization, sustainable institution, if there are no rules, well-established rules.
With entries from 152 members, only 121 met the criteria of the Institute's board for life membership and conferment as fellows. Betsy Ihabonike, a retired Deputy Director NTA, was one of those who took the oath of allegiance as fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management Chartered. Several others were also recognized for their managerial skills and values.
To the Nigerian Institute of Management Chartered, it's a great thing. So I'm going to try my best, God's willing, to contribute to the responsibilities of the institute, my noble institute.
It's a great thing of honor for a professional to aspire and get to the fellowship grade of his or her own profession. So we thank God for that.
I know now that integrity, honesty, accountability, and transparency cannot be compromised.
The Nigerian Institute of Management Chartered is a professional body created over 6 decades ago with the aim of standing as a formidable source and symbol of management excellence in Nigeria. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
This is NTA Network News. More reports after this break. Please stay.
Glad to have you back. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has reiterated the federal government's commitment at ensuring adequate protection and support to humanitarian workers in Nigeria. Professor Osinbajo stated this in a message to the 2021 World Humanitarian Day celebration. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports.
The United Nations General Assembly in 2009 designated 19th of August every year to honor the sacrifices of humanitarian workers. In Nigeria, the federal government is celebrating the day to recognize humanitarian aid workers and those who lost their lives working for humanitarian causes.
The task of building a resilient future is one which must be given by the collective resources of all nations as we race towards 2030 and pledge our commitment towards fighting climate change and the achievement of the social development goals.
I therefore call on all aid sector stakeholders to work closely with the ministry to create an implementing strategy for the National Humanitarian Development Peace Framework.
This speaks to women's role in humanitarian crisis management. While women and children are mostly not the subjects of crisis, they tend to be objects at the receiving end of the upheavals of livelihoods, among others.
The large-scale need for humanitarian assistance created by the ongoing insurgency in the northern region has drawn the attention of both local and international humanitarian actors to support the efforts of the Nigerian government.
In Abuja, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
Strengthening capacity of the public in disaster response and management has become crucial, and this is due to vulnerability of the world to high magnitude of disasters with attendant consequences. Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, emphasized this when he played host to a team from the Emergency, Crisis and Disaster Risk Management Institute. Joseph Otsen reports.
Wildfires, flooding, storm and extreme heat, among many other natural and man-made disasters, are becoming daily occurrence globally. The devastating effect of flooding in many Nigerian communities in recent times suggests that many are taken unawares and lack the capacity to deal with such situations. This visit by the Emergency, Crisis and Disaster Risk Management Institute to management of the Nigerian Television Authority is to seek collaboration that will enable it reach out to a greater part of the population for emergency preparedness and better response strategies amidst disasters.
We believe that when disaster strikes, the time to prepare have passed. So what we do is how can we prepare in advance? That's being proactive before the disaster strikes.
With disaster increasing at alarming rate, Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, wants the Institute to leverage on the wide reach and multiple platforms of NTA to intensify sensitization.
So if you give us the content, we will disseminate such content. But for you to be able to give us the content, like you rightly pointed out, we need to have an official form of collaboration.
Conducting risk management trainings for institutions is part of strategies adopted by the Institute to impact the public. In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
2,000 less privileged persons across the 17 council areas of Enugu State have benefited from an empowerment program of a non-governmental organization, the Regina Guanaji Empowerment Foundation. This was at the flag-off of the foundation's charity project in Enugu for the Southeast Zone. Eukaria Ugu reports.
The event, which has empowerment through capacity building as its theme, was preceded by the group's visit to the Enugu State University Teaching Hospital, where it disbursed 2.7 million naira to offset hospital bills of the discharged patients who were not able to pay their bills.
Thank you so much. As you people pay my child money for this hospital, may God bless you people in Jesus' name abundantly.
510 indigent students in JS2 and SS2 classes drawn from various schools across the 17 local government areas of the state were awarded scholarship, while a check covering their one-year tuition fee and junior and senior school certificate examination was presented to the Permanent Secretary, Post-Primary School Management Board, Mrs. Favor Ubwani, by the founder and president of the group. Mr. Kingsley Adorno pledged to support the efforts of the state government in executing some of the projects in the state.
I pray through charity, and his advice given to me by my late mother, who I use her name to form this foundation.
To show love and appreciate whatever we are going to receive here today. This is just his life and the family life, the way their mother brought them up.
100 persons with disabilities selected across the 5 states of the zone were mobilized with brand new wheelchairs, while 338 women were empowered with 50,000 naira each. In Enugu, Eukaria Ugu, NTA News.
A national conference on transport infrastructure development in Nigeria appears to believe that long-term financing and proper project monitoring are some solutions to the transport deficit in Nigeria. The conference in Abuja is an initiative of the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology, Zaria. Elizabeth Omori reports.
Sustaining the gains of transport infrastructure development in Nigeria is the reason these economic actors are gathered here and also brainstorm on how to tackle challenges confronting the sector. Data by the National Bureau of Statistics show that the transport sector contributed 1.38% to the GDP within the first quarter of 2021. This figure, stakeholders believe, can be improved upon.
We are looking at a situation where Nigeria can serve as the hub of transport for Africa. And to do that, we have to have the facilities. We have to be better than any other country.
Speakers highlighted declining oil price and delay in project actualization as factors contributing to deficit.
You have to build and ensure that you have at least, interest rates that are fairly stable, and people can then say, okay, and they can make their projections right.
They recommended the development of a model to recover funds invested in the provision of infrastructure for sustainability. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
And in Gombe State, achieving infrastructure development is a direct function of the amount of income at the disposal of policy implementers. This informs the idea by the Inuwa Yahya administration to set up the Gombe Geographic Information Systems, GOGIS, to tackle the issue of revenue defaulters. Emmanuel Akila reports that GOGIS has gone out to enforce compliance with the state revenue laws for development.
The Revenue Remittance Enforcement Team storms the premises of civil engineering, construction and manufacturing companies to verify their compliance with payment of annual ground rents. Director General of Gombe State Geographic Information Systems, GOGIS, Dr. Kabir Usman Hassan said the business premises visited had been served notices of payment of the revenue.
I want those people that we visited the site to try as much as they can to comply, because if they did not comply, we are going to vacate them from the areas.
Such aggressive revenue drive by GOGIS, according to the Director General, is to support the Inuwa Yahya administration deliver dividends of democracy to the people.
We are not witch-hunting anybody. Without putting head together, we cannot grow. So I want all the stakeholders, as well as the people that owns commercial areas and those people that owns these mining areas, to comply with our mandate. Without this revenue, all this developmental project we are seeing, we cannot see it, we can't have it.
GOGIS advised all business owners to meet up their revenue obligation to the state to avert sealing of their business premises. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
The federal government has appealed for global support in managing its COVID-19 program. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed made the appeal in continuation of his media engagement in Washington, D.C., United States. Anthony Forson reports.
On the lineup for the minister's engagement are Reuters, Washington Post, and Bloomberg. Happenings in Nigeria, as usual, were placed on the table for the minister to clear the air on the issues raised, beginning with how Nigeria has managed the COVID-19 pandemic, which most countries are still grappling with.
We've received just under 9 million doses so far of both AstraZeneca and Moderna. What we are expecting in the next few weeks, next few months, about 29.8 million doses made up of Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca from the AU.
With more doses expected, the minister said the vaccines having been accepted, a robust mobilization and sensitization is desirable.
We are also tackling the issue of vaccine hesitancy, which has been brought about by fake news and by misinformation. But we continue to work with traditional rulers, with religious leaders, with the media, to ensure that there's a vaccine uptake and that we are able to vaccinate a sizable proportion of Nigerians so that we can actually achieve herd immunity.
When the minister was asked to respond to allegations of human rights abuses and perceived killing of Christians, this was his response.
Opinion leaders and the global media to please not be a victim of fake news
or a victim of enlightened self-interest. People who will come and talk about religious persecution in Nigeria when indeed there's none.
This response was followed by what they put as a deliberate move to gag the media. Lai Mohammed again dismissed the allegation.
All that NBC said was an advice to stop glamorizing, banditry, to stop glamorizing the works of insurgency. And I do not think this is unusual. I remember that at the height of the IRA in the UK, the media resolved on their own that no IRA bombing would make page one of any newspaper. So I do not see how that kind of advisory cannot be seen as an attempt to muzzle the press. I think people have been very unfair, and they are treating us very harshly without even talking to the various organizations.
Lai Mohammed, while in Washington, will also meet with US-based think tanks, apart from media organizations. In Washington, D.C., Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Back home, INEC has published a list of substituted governorship and deputy governorship candidates for the November 6th Anambra governorship election. The list of the substituted candidates signed by the INEC National Commissioner for Information, Festus Okoye, indicates that 7 governorship and 11 deputy governorship candidates were substituted by 11 out of the 18 political parties. Similarly, INEC was served with the judgment of the Court of Appeal, Kano Division, which set aside the judgment of the High Court of Jigawa State on the leadership of APGA and the nomination of its candidates for the Anambra governorship election. Following that judgment, the name of Chukwuma Melody has been removed and replaced with Professor Charles Soludo, while the APC also got a new deputy governorship candidate, Chukwu Emeka Stephen Okafor. However, the final list of candidates will be published on 7th October 2021 as provided in the timetable and schedule of activities for the election. Away from electoral matters, President Muhammadu Buhari rejoices with immediate past Speaker of the Oyo State House of Assembly, Honorable Joshua Olagunju Ojo, JP, as he turns 70 on August 20, 2021. In a congratulatory message, the President salutes the commitment of the astute politician to service of the people of Ogbomoso in particular and Oyo State in general, using his privileged position to touch their lives in diverse ways. As a prominent farmer, marketer and politician, President Buhari is delighted that the All Progressives Congress stalwart remains resolute in the ideals of service to the people. As a fellow of Institute of Management Executives and Administrators of Nigeria turns 70, the President wishes him longer life, good health, and greater service to God and humanity. The body of the Manager News and Current Affairs and head of NTA Suleja, late Jemima Bassi, has been committed to Madareth at the Gudu Cemetery, Abuja. Odiri Ogboro Arutere reports that family, friends and colleagues were on ground to pay their last respect to the deceased.
If you look around, especially down there, you see all the graves. All those ones have embarked on a journey of no return.
It was a solemn moment for the family, friends and associates as they witnessed the interment of late Jemima Bassi, who many described as a humble, determined and courageous woman in all endeavors during her lifetime. General Manager, NTA Channel 5, Abuja, Ayo Adewuyi, represented the Director General, NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, at the funeral.
Jemima paid her dues as a journalist, as a reporter, as a manager of human and material resources. And we pray Almighty God to grant her soul peace.
Jemima has run her race. She has done her time, and the Lord has called her home.
She's always been there for me. She always had something to say to make me feel better.
She's the most dependable friend you can ever wish for.
good mother, an orator, a friend, a wife. She's God sent.
Until her death, Jemima Bassi was Manager News and Current Affairs and Head of Station NTA Suleja. In Abuja, Odiri Ogboru Arutere, NTA News.
And that concludes Network News tonight. Many thanks for watching. Please remember that rape is a crime and we must do our part to kick it out of our society. Good night.